You are a New Jersey State Assemblywoman. Can you tell the students what that role entails and what your day to day might look like, or if it's different day through day, so that way they can learn a little bit about your position.
Awesome. Well, first, let me say thank you for allowing me um, to have the opportunity to speak before the students. I'm going to tell you, you guys are truly amazing. I've looked at some of the history of the school. I've looked at what um, the possibilities that you had, and I'm so thrilled that I can be here to have conversation with you in reference to doing that. You know, it's about our development. It's about who we are and where we come from and where we're going and where you see yourselves. I am a state assemblywoman. I represent Legislative District 22. I'm one of 80 members. Now, mind you, I'm one of 80 individuals of the New Jersey General Assembly. And I represent 11 towns in my district, District 22. I have a counterpart. His name is James Kennedy. And we both represent, we are the two. So there are 40 districts in the state of New Jersey. And of the 40 districts, you have 2 assembly representatives and 1 Senate representative. And we get elected. I get elected literally every 2 years. And I've been in this position a little over 2 years. I'm really just completing my first full term as a state assemblywoman. And as a member of the state assembly, I work alongside 40 individuals who represent the state senate. So in government, you have the houses. So you have the Senate, you have the assembly, and we put policies in place that affect everyone around the entire state of New Jersey. And we enact laws. We vote for laws that get put into the books, which affect each and every one of you and every one of me. It just doesn't affect adults, it affects all of us. As we create laws, we establish a state budget of how we're going to spend money, which also, based off of the money, we approve a budget that the governor puts through. And as that spending plan, that also determines how much taxes we need to collect from everybody all over the state. We pass bills on public policy matters, and we set levels for state spending. We tell people how much they can spend around the state. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Thanks for that great summary. So can you share with us a little bit about your background and how you decided to take the pathway you have um, in your current role?
Sure. Well, first of all, I tell everybody this. I got into politics kicking and screaming. I never, ever, ever even thought. You have individuals who grow up and you know what, and many of you all say, you know what, I'm going to be that attorney. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a doctor. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a firefighter when I grow up. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew what I saw, um, what I was exposed to. Um, and politics wasn't one of them because I didn't have a lot of politicians around me or those that were in politics. I did have those that I knew worked for government and all. But as I was in a time frame where I was thinking of moving out of the state of New Jersey, I was thinking, you know what? I went to school in Maryland, and I really like the Maryland, Virginia area. Let me go and find a job out that way. And I was actually in between jobs. Currently a teacher, and this is my second career. But my first career, I worked in business, and I got laid off from my job. And I was approached to say, listen, we'd like you to run for Plainfield City Council. I was like, no, not me. Mm-mm, not happening. They're like, no, we really want you to do this. No, no, thank you. And then I said, you know what? I had to think back. Why am I saying no to this? Everything I've always learned and everything I've always been taught to be is be about the change and not just talk about the change. And I didn't like things that were going on. And this was my opportunity to get involved to help make things different and better for all of those, and even for me. So I ran for the city council. I won my position. I served on the city council, and then I had an opportunity to go to Union County. At that time, it was called Freeholder Board, but it's the Union County Commissioners now, and be a part of a team of 9 individuals that made decisions for the county of Union, which you all live in, your school is in, and I live in the city of Plainfield, and the county of Union has 21 municipalities. So as part of that, we made government spending on a county level. So the county works with the state legislature, they work with the state, and through the state we get funding, and then we work with our 21 municipalities to help them with their funding and running their government and making sure that they're efficient and effective in meeting the services that are needed. Then unfortunately, Assemblyman Green, who represented Legislative District 22 for many years, passed away. And after he passed away, based off of the work that I previously did, they asked me to run and take his seat. So I got appointed to his seat in the state assembly. And again, I was humbled. I was nervous. I questioned myself at times of whether or not I can do this. I'm a teacher, and being able to do this and going to Trenton to make these laws and be part of that and still, playing my part as an educator. I doubted myself at times, but then I had to go back into myself and say again, listen, you have the skills, you worked for this, you know what, you understand, and who better else to be at the table to represent those that look like me than me? So I jumped at the opportunity, said, absolutely. So that's kind of in a nutshell how I got here. Besides, I had to get voted in by the constituents. Not like I just said, oh, I want to be there, and somebody said, here, go there. I actually have to be elected. When I was on the city council, I had to be elected every 4 years. And I served on the Plainfield City Council for 7 years. Then when I was on the Freeholder Board, you got elected every 3 years. And I served for 8 years on the Freeholder Board. And now I get elected every 2 years. So I've served this is one complete term that I'm serving now as a state assemblywoman. How was that, Terry?
That's fantastic. Well, and it seems like the number of years that you have to run each time decreases with your role. So
it did. I was like, how did this work out? I went from 4 to 3, and now I'm down to every 2 years I have to get elected into my position. So if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, the voters get to choose. And they get to say, we don't want you, or we do want you. But I'm happy that I have been so supportive, and I hope I continue to get the support of my constituency to remain in this position.
Well, and I think that speaks to, going back to what you were saying, your background and how you were raised. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of hard work to want to help others. And, that's a very big part of St. John's too. We encourage community service, being kind to one another, helping each other, and also helping the community. So, even despite the pandemic, they're still doing a lot of fundraisers, a lot of work towards, different type of associations to help support, others in need. And I think that's a very nice parallel to really the work you're doing. Not only are you dedicated to educating other children, but also supporting your community as well.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things, and I have always said this, it's not about me. I'm one person, but it's about me and all of those that are around me. And I have to make sure that my neighbors are okay. I have to make sure my city is okay. I want to make sure my state is okay. I have elder relatives. I have younger relatives. And listen, I want to make sure that my elders are able to be here, to pass on their knowledge and to be able to live in their homes, and really be part and be okay. And sometimes as you get older, it gets a little bit harder, but I'm here to help them. If they need assistance, we have to be able to help them along the way. We also have some of our youth and even some of my friends. Listen, we look out for each other. And that's what we have to do. We have to look out for each other because that's what makes us, how can I say, that's what makes us family. That's what makes the world go around. Being able to help each other and embracing each other and then be to help lift each other and even just lifting ourselves. And sometimes you just have to, take a moment and just breathe. Taking a really deep breath, look around, see what's going on, and see what the possibilities are. If you don't like something, you got to talk about it. And if you can make some changes, make those changes for the better. You know what? You guys might be able to talk to each other and figure out, hey, we don't like this that's going on. And it could be, and I'll use school or even your classroom. You don't like something, don't get mad, but maybe come up with a solution. And I always believe if I'm going to dislike something, what can I do to make it better? What are my resources that can help? And what are my ideas? Will all my ideas always be accepted? No. But some of them may click and some of them may work. So it's our responsibility to be able to help all of those around us. And I have always followed that theme as I have been in my political career. And I always would tell people, I'm not a politician, but really, I'm a politician. And I want to make sure, and it's about the government stepping in to help when we need help. And think about, we've been in COVID. You guys have gone on remote learning. You guys may be back in school, but some schools are still, the school I teach at, we're still on remote learning until April. And they're trying to get us back into the building come April timeframe. Well, guess what? We have a lot of those students, those first couple of months had no access, they're home, but had no access to internet, had no access to a computer or a laptop. And as the government, we needed to step in to make sure that those resources are there for those students so that they can continue their learning. And that's part of what government helps to do. But again, my whole thing and what I believe in is the fact that from day one, we're all connected. From when I was on the city council, I always said every block connected. All of our neighbors need to know who our neighbors are. And we need to be able to reach out and touch them. When I was on the freeholder board, the commissioner board, I would say, what are we doing to put resources and what we can do to empower individuals? I started out with a program for Union County Women Means Business. How do we get more women-owned businesses? How do we get the resources that people can, be in control of their own destiny with that? How do we have resources for our youth? And we started UC STEP, Union County Student Training Enrichment Program. What can we do to give the skills necessary to our youth that they can go back into their community and do just what you're doing, the fundraising that you're doing? How can we help them? What can we help them that they, are empowered and they really shine, and able to take their tools and learn and run their own programs? Plain and simple. What is it that we can do to help you?
Well, and hopefully those individuals help others, and it's like wildfire. So that's
absolutely fantastic. You always have to reach back. Somebody will be there to help you. You remember to always reach back and help somebody else.
Of course. So changing gears a little bit, who is your biggest role model? And if it's different when you were younger and now, can you speak a little bit about that?
Sure. My model has always been the same, and that was my mother. My mother passed away about 5 years ago. Um, but from day one, she's always been my role model. I grew up in a single parent household with two older brothers. And listen, it was not easy for her. And it's not as if my dad wasn't in my life. He still was, but he just wasn't in my household. So my mother worked two jobs. Um, I would go to school, and my mother works to make sure, because I went to Catholic school. I went to Catholic school from first grade and all through the way through high school. And she had to pay for my education to put us there. And that's a choice that she made. And so there were times when I got out of school, I had to go to my aunt's house. I had to do things. And also, I wanted to make sure I did not think that I was able to afford to go to college. So I got a job when I got out of eighth grade, and I worked. And that to me was a help that I can raise the funds I needed to actually go to college and to help my mother. But seeing how hard my mother had to work, I made sure that I needed to stick to my educational plans and make sure that I got my education. And when I do that, and I even tell all of my students now, it's about a toolbox. It's about having all the things that you need right in the toolbox. You know how when you got to fix something in the house, or your mom or your dad need to go and fix something, they go and they need the screwdriver, they go to the toolbox, they pull out the screwdriver, they use the screwdriver, they put it back, they go get the hammer, they pull it out when they need it, they pull it back. I like to feel as if I have that toolbox for the skills that I have. I may not use it right now, but I can pull it out. I can utilize it when I need it to help me to grow, and then I can come back and help others also to grow and to be better. But my mother sacrificed so much to make sure that I did not want to have to want for anything. She was my biggest role model, because through her doing that, she was a source of motivation for me. She always taught me the importance of good education, good character, generosity, and no doubt shaped to the person I am today, and made me strive to want to serve and give back to my community, and made me strive to make sure that, that I helped others. And I always believe if I have a problem with somebody, the problem is with me, not with that person. I believe that it's how I look at it and take it. I've chosen to have a problem with somebody else. So I always stop, take that breath, figure out what is it that didn't just kind of work. Oh, you're right. And I put a smile on, and let's keep it moving, and let's work together, and let's get, no matter who it is, and let's work and find a common ground and find a solution for everything. And my mother used to always tell me that. It's like, listen, if it's tough and life gets tough, it's not about you getting mad or angry. It's about you finding that solution and the win-win, and how you all can work it out and move forward. Because no matter what, we live in a society where we have everyone, and we are all different. No matter what anybody thinks about, I was told you're spoiled. Yeah, everybody in the world is spoiled, and it's okay. I'll wear it, but I'm spoiled in a manner that, guess what? I work hard at what I do. But you look at what it is, she taught me the good values of, be good to yourself, but be good to others. Always reach back and help someone. My mother used to push me, I'd get mad at her. Go help this person, go help this person. I'm like, okay, you're just not giving me a chance to go and do it myself. And this is when you're growing up and you're trying, find your independence. And I'll be like, "Urgh, urgh." And then I said, Mom, can you stop and just give me a second? And then after she saw it, she was like, oh, you were listening to me. And I go and I help somebody else, or I go and I help my senior, or I go and help my classmate, or I go and help, my siblings, things like that. And it's just the little stuff, little stuff. And all those little things that she gave me made me want to always strive to do better and to do good.
Well, and for those who are watching this and don't know this, obviously we know each other. I would always refer to Linda as Wonder Woman. And now I have a little bit more insight that you're not necessarily the original. It was your mom.
That is so true. My mother was truly a Wonder Woman. She did so much for us and the family. And listen, when we were in school and it, we had to, they would have the bingos at the school, at the church. And she'd have to show up for the PTOs and she'd be right there because it was part of helping. And you know what is what, and she would make sure we understood why we were doing it. You have to be able to give back and to help others. So yeah, she stood a lot for me. And she really just gave me insight on coming into, I had to come into who I am, but being very proud of who I am. Being, you know what, I can always know who I am and I could stand for what I believed in. But she showed me how to stand for what I believed in, which is a difference. Not where I was, if I kind of was like a little rude. And listen, I was a young kid at the time on things. She pulled me back and we'd have conversation and talk about it and figure out. And I'd be like, oh, that is a much better way to do it.
Yeah, well, and I think we all need that help no matter what. Even as adults, we're still on a journey, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because let me tell you, we all hit those roads. You guys aren't just going to hit roads when you're young. As adults, we hit roads also, but it's about how we react to those roads that we hit that make all the difference.
Absolutely. There's something that you had said that reminded me of a training that I had attended. You had mentioned that you can control yourself, but not necessarily outside, and you shouldn't make excuses. You should take a step back and think about what you could do to better a situation. And there was a training that I had went through, leadership training, and the trainer actually said to me, the thing that we struggle with the most as individuals is we always move forward from our perspective when something happens. We don't understand why people don't see it as we're moving forward with the best of intentions.
Right.
But then when we're receiving something, we always assume the worst. So wouldn't it be better if we just assume the best of intentions?
Correct.
When we're receiving something, and then wouldn't that make it a little bit easier? So easier to talk about than when you're in the middle of going through something like that. But it definitely has caused me to pause and think about that as I navigate through challenges myself.
And you know what, Terry, you're absolutely correct, and that's what it's about. Listen, all of us possess different skill levels. Some are just, naturally inclined for certain things. And some of us, we have to work at certain things. And that's one of the things I had to always work at. I had to learn how to let me take a breath and let me see how I'm receiving what's being said to me. And then I didn't always agree with what's being said, but if I looked at what was being said and took the pieces that I needed and applied that, it was like amazing. It was a total paradigm shift to a totally different level. And I always tell my students this, listen, I teach high school students and I take elective classes. So we have business courses. So we get to have more conversation, a little bit more leniency. And when I see that two students are, not agreeing on something or they argue, I have to tell them to stop. But I'm not asking them to apologize for something that they really believe that they weren't wrong in. Apologize for what your part in how it was not taken properly. And that's all, you're owning what you have, owning what your responsibility of it is. And when you do that, you tend to receive it differently
Mhm.
and the other person receives it differently. I can't control what somebody else does. I can only control me, but I can control how I receive it and how I react to it. So you're absolutely right.
Right. So obviously we talked about who your biggest role model was, and obviously that's the same. I was going to ask you who has shaped your career in your life, but I assume that that's also your mother. I mean, obviously it's a parent.
But you know what? It was more than my mother's. It's my mentors that I had. And once I got the opportunity to look beyond just my scope, and I could see and was given avenues to see others, I got more and shaped my life to really see what the rest of the world was all about, to see what it was to live outside of my town, to see what it was outside of my school, and to be given, and it's all of my mentors, my coaches, those that believe in me, even when I didn't believe in myself, that I couldn't give it. It's like, listen, don't give up. You be to that last mile and you want to just turn back. And they were there in my life to say, I need you just to push through. And that happens a lot. And I'm going to tell, and I need to say this here and now that I brought this up. I cannot say it enough to any of you. When you think that it's not going to go right or it's just not in the cards, don't give up. If it's something that you truly are desiring and you have that passion for it, continue to seek out that passion. Even when you start hitting those blocks, figure out how to get around the block, knock down the block, get over the block, and continue to go for it. Because your barriers only are there to, and they're going to make you stronger and make you even better at what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree completely. I love the idea of mentors because I think and for anyone, we're our own
Enemy.
our worst critic, right? We
Yep.
always see, we'll look and pick on things, but to have somebody that can look at things with perspective and a different point of view, and that doesn't have to necessarily be somebody older than them. It could be a friend that is
Absolutely.
just giving them context, and we all have a bad day or sometimes more than one day. Certainly the pandemic has taught us that,
Oh,
but trying
Lord.
to be able to see the silver lining out of things. I travel a lot, as you know, for work, so being able to spend more time with my family has been a silver lining. And also even seeing what our community is doing to come together in a very challenging and terrible time that's completely out of our control, to be able to help one another and do our part in order to do that. Like being remote, being virtual for any period of time is certainly not easy. And it's not just from a school learning perspective, but not having that, ability to see your friends as you typically would and your teachers. So, I think I agree completely. And I think building that network around you to help you as you navigate through life is certainly important.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. You know, as
So,
as you look at it, it's also a matter. This pandemic has shown something. I I would always say, and this was before the pandemic, I'd be in my house for 24 hours, and I'm like, okay, I got cabin fever. I got to get out. And I can only imagine what our students, our youth are going through, and it's very hard. You're in the house, you know, months at a time because you really just can't. At the beginning, we couldn't just really just go out. We had to address it, or you couldn't, why can't I just go and, go up the street and hang out with my friends? And there were restrictions put on us. But it's a matter of having those conversations and finding those avenues that somebody can just listen. And then you being able to just take a breath, breathe it in, breathe it out, and know that people are here to help you.
absolutely. So, with respect to, your perspective, who have you admired the most throughout history? Can you think of one person or even a, it's hard to choose just one because it really is so.
It really is hard to choose, but I'm going to tell you something. As I look at those in history, I look at Shirley Chisholm and the things that she stood for. I look at Dr. Martin Luther King. But those that I admire in my history are really my ancestors, those that came before me, because without them, I would not be here and I would not be who I am. As many of you may or may not know, I'm African American. I was born and raised here in New Jersey, but you can trace my roots, my family roots back to Virginia, to plantations, to being, having slave owners, but also understanding where we come from. So that's why I always look to Dr. Martin Luther King. And what I admired about King was his insight, his sight, and his vision of justice and righteousness. He could see what most could not see. He challenged Americans to answer hate with love. Dr. King could see beyond the prejudice and the injustice of his own generation, and he hoped for a better world for his children and his grandchildren. And that's what a lot of my ancestors have done. They've hoped for a better world that we can all, no matter who you are, no matter whether you were a boy or girl, whether you were tall or short, skinny or fat, light skin, dark skin, white skin, brown skin, you know what? They're all looking at, you know what? We all live together and we all are able to see each other for who they are. He hoped for a better world for everybody, but Dr. King is a great example to us of all what can be accomplished and what he accomplished when we embrace love for all mankind, no matter who you are. When we embrace each other for our diversities, for our differences, and not shun them or not make them outcasts or not make them seem as if they are different. Um, and our world would be able to really get along and move so much more and get things done. And I think that's also why, as I look at laws and we're putting policies on the book as an assemblywoman, I look at those because sometimes things happen and people don't realize that it's happened, that it's hurting certain classes of individuals, hurting certain races of individuals. And we look to make sure that those laws are the same for everybody. Because you hear people talk about equal, let everybody be the same, and then you talk about equity. And sometimes everybody's not treated the same and we all don't have the same. And that makes our world diverse and makes us, who we are. But we have to make sure that policies that we have in place, that we are putting policies in place that don't harm any one race, any one gender, or any individual.
Got a lot of work on your hands and a lot to look up to. I think this, this whole conversation, and not just, Martin Luther King, obviously, but even yourself, it showcases what one person can do and what we're capable of. So if we think that we're not enough, that it's just us against the world, there are ripple effects, some bigger than others, but it certainly makes a difference, even if it's just one person that you reach.
Absolutely. And that's all it takes. If you can reach out to that one person, have that conversation, you would be amazed. If you just do that one thing, you can see that ripple effect and how it affects everybody else. If you know what, don't worry about what your friend Sally is doing. Don't worry about what your friend Fred is doing. You know what? Worry about what you, and I can guarantee you that if you're doing something, they're going to probably come over and say, hey, let me help. Or how can I do this? Or if you like something that they do, ask how you can help them. Ask what you can do for your part in it to make it even better.
Absolutely. What is the best thing about your role as Assemblywoman?
My best role is when I see my constituents, I'm able to assist them. When we put policies on our books that really are changing how we do things in the state of New Jersey. We have laws on our books that are hundreds of years old. Those laws were written for those times. We now have the ability to change them, that they are laws that are for our times. Now, there were books and let me just give you like one example that's even just last year. I was part of the Union County Board of Chosen Freeholders. The word freeholder really is for only people that could have that term were men that held free land. And normally that was white men. We got that, it was changed from freeholders to commissioners. And commissioners are more acceptable and more of something that happens that, you know what, it doesn't seem like it's only one race or dominated by a man and all. That was a big deal. We tried to change that when I was on the freeholder board, and it didn't really go anywhere. But last year, Commissioner Angela Garrettson, I was about to get her name wrong, Angela Garrettson brought it up again, and she was able to push and, you know, get the force behind to get the name changed. And I know that you probably think, well, it's just a name change, but it's a big deal. It really was a big deal. And me as a state legislator, we voted to change the name from freeholder to county commissioners. So now it's representative of all people and not just one people.
It's amazing what one word and what that difference could make from an inclusion perspective.
And let me just say something about, you're absolutely correct. One word, one look, one action can really make a difference. And I think we talked a little bit about it before. It's how you receive it is what really makes, you know, how it goes back. And how you receive it, take that breath. If you receive it and you got that negativity about it, when you're receiving, take that deep breath, because it wasn't probably meant to be received, you know, said that way. And just have the conversation and say, listen, this is how let me repeat this. Is this what you're saying? For me to understand? And I can guarantee you it was nothing of how you received it and all, because we all come from different backgrounds. My family is a very diverse family. My relatives, I have family members that are married, you know, to people that are not the same religion, that are not the same race. I have, you know, cousins who are biracial cousins. I have a cousin that she says, I'm not biracial, I'm triracial. And but it doesn't matter. And I'm going to give you guys an example. Have you guys seen you go to the store and you buy eggs, right? You get the brown egg. You got those brown eggs in the store, and you get the white eggs in the store. Now, some families like to buy the brown eggs. Some families like to buy the white eggs. But guess what? The only difference is one is brown and one is white. But they're still eggs. And when you crack them open, you still have the same egg. It looks exactly the same that comes out. And that's what we are. We're all different, and they're different. The eggs are different. One's a brown egg, one's a white egg. But we all have a heart inside. We all have feelings. We all, you know what? We may have different eyes. We may have different noses. We may have different hair. My hair is looking a mess, and I apologize to y'all today and everything. We're different, but that's the beauty of all of us. When I interviewed for my position as a teacher for the very first time, I interviewed with the principal of my school. And I'm a high school teacher in Passaic, at Passaic High School. And at the time, Mr. Creech says to me, he says, you know what? I like to have people that believe and think like me, act like me, teach like me. What do you think about that? I said, it'd be pretty boring working here. And I don't think I could do that. If we were all the same, think about it. If there was no diversity, if there was no difference, it would be pretty boring. You have to embrace to be different. And we all are. If somebody has an idea, it's wonderful. If somebody's hair is cut short, that's great. Does that look good on you? If it looks good on you, yeah, it might not look as good on me, but you're wearing that short hair. You know what? Somebody who's taller, it's okay. Somebody that's shorter, it's okay. You know, it's about us, and we have to include everybody. No matter what your preferences are, what you like, what you don't like, we don't make them the bad person. They're just who they are. That's all. And you are who you are.
I agree completely. It would be boring if we were all the same.
Oh God, yes. I thrive on people. I tell people this all the time. If I can't have a job where I'm in a cubicle and it's only me and I just do this job, I have to have people around me. I have to talk to them. And that's when my juices get going and I can like really listen. I can solve anything. Put me in a group of individuals who we're thinking about a think tank, and I can feed off of this and we come up with some great ideas. That's, and we're all different, and we all come from different backgrounds, and we have to respect that. We all have to respect the traditions that our families have. Love it. Absolutely love it. You know what? Because then I get to learn about other people. I get to learn about other cultures. And it just makes me want to go and visit those countries and go visit those cultures and go see what they have and how different they are than what I have. Because the world is huge out there, absolutely huge. And we have to be able to embrace it.
Right. It makes me think of, even as something simple as trying new things. I always encourage my kids, if you don't like something, that's fine, but you need to try it with an open mind. And sometimes you're surprised with what you like. So, it kind of speaks to the exposure of different cultures. You might be exposed to music that you never would have thought about, or even the approach. I work on the science side of things. Different perspectives and different ideas. That's really how we're able to innovate and have the technologies we do and the advancements in science that we do. So it's not necessarily just unique to one particular focus in life. It's broad spectrum.
Absolutely agree. When you look at it, it is a matter that we all bring something different to the table, and we're able to really make it work. It's like it gets everything going. When you look at things, and even as you all are looking at, don't be afraid to explore more than what's just there. Don't be afraid to that if your friend says no, that if you have to say no. No, your friend says no, okay. You say no, but I'm going to still go this way, because you all are looking at it very different. You have a different lens than somebody else. Don't shut it down and all before you have the opportunity to really see where it can go or what the possibilities of it are. And I think sometimes we get caught up in ourselves of doubting ourselves thinking that we're not good enough or thinking that we can't do it, listen, you can do anything you put your mind to it. Put a plan in place, put action in place, and you know what? Work your plan. Because by doing that, you'll be able to get through anything. If it doesn't work the first time, it's okay. Don't give up. Go back to it again and tweak what didn't work. The only reason why we have all these successes is because people failed the first time. And they know that, you know what, it didn't work. So then they kept trying, oh, and they got it. You know,
I think that's how Thomas Edison described how he figured out the light bulb, right?
Yep, absolutely. Listen, he kept trying, it kept not working, and you try something else, didn't work, try something, and all of a sudden, here's the light bulb. Go figure. But he didn't give up. Even though it may not come out the way that you wanted it to, listen, it may be just what is needed. Don't give up. Keep going and improve everything. And I tell this all the time. People consider me to be a leader, and we always have, you have there's Indians and there's chiefs. And I'm not sure if you guys ever heard, you got the chiefs who always give all the orders and the Indians just follow behind. Listen, you have your leaders, but in order for me to be a good leader, is not for me to dictate. I can't do that. I have to be there working with everybody and be able to move it together. So if that means me helping you to get through what you need to get through to make it work, I'm there for you. I'm there for you. Never give up, because you will always have those individuals to support you, to help you, and to help you do what you need to get done.
That's great advice. And I know my next question to you is, what advice would you give the children of St. John's? And you've certainly peppered this conversation with it. Do you have any additional pearls?
Listen, I'm going to tell you, no matter what the task is presented to you, always strive to be prideful of your work and do the best possible job you can do. If you're tasked with washing the dishes, make sure that those are the cleanest dishes anyone has ever seen. If you're tasked to mop the floor, make sure that they're the floors that are the shiniest floors in the world. When you're invested in your work, when you take pride in your work, not only will you be personal, it will be personal to you, but the passion will be recognized by others, and the sky will be the limit.
Absolutely. So what can the kids of St. John's do to help make a difference in their community?
Be kind, embrace each other for who they are and not who you want them to be. We live in a world of diversity. We all don't look alike, we all don't act alike, and it's okay. Embrace that. Help those that are around you. It may sound like a lot, um, the point that making a difference, it sounds like a lot, but it's not. Okay, any effort to make someone's life a little bit better and create happiness will undoubtedly have a trickle effect. The best thing you can do to make a difference is simply be kind as often as possible. When you show kindness, not only does it make the people around you happy, but it fills you with a sense of happiness and fulfillment. Imagine how much different this world would be if everyone just took the time to simply just be kind and smile. Just smile. If you show that smile to somebody else, they're going to smile back. Listen to listen, just listen. Sometimes, you know what? I tell my friends all the time, tell me when I need to be the wall. And that's all I am. They sit there and they talk to me. I go, and I just listen to what they say. I say nothing. They're able to have that and they're able to get it out. But then it's being kind. I'm not judging them. Don't judge anybody, because when you judge, then you're putting what you're thinking on somebody else. Don't judge anyone. Let them be who they are and embrace who they are. Embrace the diversity. Include everybody. Don't exclude anyone. Don't exclude anything. Always look at the big picture and look at the big family.
So a lot of what you're saying right now is making me think of the book that Katie and the fourth grade had read, The New Kid. So it is a book about fitting in and, being in a situation where diversity is low, and, that struggle that people experience just being what they feel to be the outsider, and trying to fit in a world that they're not so confident that they do. So what else can you share with the school that might help with the inclusion of their peers and help them navigate the challenges of fitting in themselves?
Listen, being a youth today is a lot harder than it was when I was a youth. And I recognize that, you know, and there's so many things, and you may have friends that are, economically on different levels. You may have friends that, are look different, act different, and it's okay. Again, embrace them. Don't walk away from them. Talk to them and all. When you look at that book, The New Kid, and I have not read the entire book, but I've read bits and pieces. And if you haven't read it, I would suggest that you guys get the book and read it. You know, as an African American female growing up in a world where sometimes I was excluded because of the color of my skin, I was not given the same opportunity as some of those around me. Because listen, I'm not a skinny person. I wasn't skinny when I was growing up. And because I was heavier than those around me, I got excluded in some things also. But it's, you know what? But those friends that embraced it, and we had a good time, and we keep moving, and we have to do that. The world is different. And you're going to see, and it's a lot bigger than just your town that you live in. It's bigger than the house that you live in. There's an entire world that's out there that people are different. They talk different languages. Embrace it and accept it. Be inclusive. Have them all be together. Because when you don't, then you're judging somebody or you're not including someone. And the biggest thing to me is we don't know what their household is like. We don't know what they have at their house. We don't know the environment that they're in. Sometimes some people just need your help or just need you to be able, they can talk to. Embrace that. When you have new kids that come to your school, you guys have all gotten all your, friends and everything that you already have. Invite the new person in. Talk to them. See how they are. Ask them where they're from. What are they doing? Tell them about you. Don't let them sit at the table by themselves. Okay, we might have to do social distancing a little bit more nowadays because of COVID. We may have to wear our mask. And yes, I keep my mask all around. We may have to mask up, but that's okay. You know what? We need to be a little bit more understanding of other differences and all. You know what? You may have somebody who needs help or looks at something differently than you do. It's okay. And all. Embrace it. Talk to them. And because we look at stuff at different lenses, there are times when, you may say something, not even realize it, and somebody may take offense to it. That's when you have to communicate. And if somebody looks like they took offense to it, ask them, what was it that I said wrong? So that they understand where you're coming from and all. And it has to be that communication. And sometimes you may have to understand where they're coming from. And that's what it's all about. Understand where their background is, and why what something that you may have said, they took it differently or they see it differently than what you do. And just understand it. But we are in a world where we are all different. Doesn't matter who you are and all. We all have our own personalities. We have our own way of looking things. We see things through different lenses, and we have different experiences. But it doesn't mean that you or any of us are less than each other. We're all the same. And we need to embrace each other and love each other for who we are and be kind to each other and to help each other.
I agree. Well said. I mean, communication absolutely makes a huge difference. You know, you can have the best of intentions, but and not really understand, and there's that disconnect. So communication is critical in every relationship, and certainly not unique to when we're young. Sometimes it gets a little bit more complicated as we get older.
It really does. It really, really does. But it's okay. You got to work at it. You got to work at it.
Exactly. Well, and it's also an interesting approach to just life. We're constantly students as well. So don't think you guys are done when you're out of school.
Learning is never ending. You know, what's the one thing that's constant? Time. It keeps on going. And learning, you will always learn. You're going to learn from your peers. You're going to learn from just watching and seeing. You're going to learn from, you know, your school and your textbook. And you're going to learn just from being around others. Embrace it. It's okay. And then you understand too, you'll get to know the things that you want to do, things you don't want to do, the right, the wrong, because you all are coming into your own. And in a couple of years, you're not going to have your mama down around to let you know what you're going to tell you, yes, you should do this, or you're going to be making your own decisions and all. And it's good. You just want to make sure that you're looking at through your lens and you're sensitive to those and you're including those all around you.